Cool. Yeah, so hi guys, welcome to another ETHDenver 2022 In-person Hackathon project demo session. This is Chris from DoraHacks. Very glad and exciting to be here and host you guys. This is the first time that DoraHacks to support ETHDenver in-person hackathon. And in the end, we have 171 project submissions. They did a really good job. And actually, we are super happy to see there are 30 teams emerged from all of them. And today we actually have 4 of them with us, which are Mimicry Protocol, Funbugᵍᵐ, Deus Ex Securitas, and DustSweepers. Yeah, so without further ado, let's welcome the first project, which is the Deus Ex Securitas to start. And for all the audience, if you have any questions during the session, please feel free to ask in our YouTube chat room. Yeah, and I will ask the team. Yeah, and it's your time, Dixon and Robert.
Fantastic. Thanks for the intro, Chris. Dixon, do you mind putting up the slide deck?
Yep.
Yeah, so as Chris said, we're Deus Ex Securitas. I'm Robert.
I'm Dixon. He's 17 years old. I'm 19 years old. We both have machine learning backgrounds, and we're Deus Ex Securitas. So
basically, the problem we're trying to solve going into this hackathon was the problem of vulnerabilities in smart contracts. Over the course of the history of the industry, over $3 billion has been lost due to vulnerabilities, and really we don't have a good solution to this problem right now.
Basically, the existing solutions right now is just human auditors, right? And they cost over 150K and sometimes even more. They take weeks to months, and they're unscalable because, like humans, human auditors can only scale up with the number of humans they have, therefore linear, versus the industry demand, which is non-linear, I guess, because the industry is growing faster and faster. So we have backgrounds in machine learning. So why don't we just apply machine learning to this problem? So here's a demo.
So we built this demo during the week of the hackathon, and then we've been refining it a little bit since the hackathon ended, or at least since the in-person hackathon ended. Basically, what we did was we built a website that's able to have an arbitrary smart contract as an input, and it's able to detect whether or not that contract is vulnerable to the re-entry attack. So we've got a few samples here that just demonstrate that it works. This first sample has no vulnerability to the re-entry attack, and as you can see, our system labels it as such, whereas sample 2 is vulnerable to the re-entry attack, and our system detects it as such.
And the benefit of taking machine learning instead of just human auditors is that it's really cheap. Therefore, there's no barriers to entry because anybody can have access to this. It's not people who have over 150K who have that in order to spend that in order to do auditing. Anybody can audit. It's really fast because, as you can see right here, it's literally takes seconds, thereby increasing iteration cycles from weeks to months into 30 seconds. And finally, it's scalable because software can be upgraded instantly and can be duplicated infinitely. Therefore, we can give the best models to everyone almost instantaneously. And this is both for devs and also auditors. So for auditors, I guess they have 2 primary jobs. One is just to check if there's exploits, but also, to fine check those who are because the smart contracts are literally pushing the envelopes for DeFi or for other areas. So, it's good to have auditors who are just proof checking it and just checking it and just sanity checking it, I guess. So for auditors, they don't have to spend as much time on the technical side trying to fix those bugs. Instead, they can put all their time doing the full job.
So the core technical design behind this project was using DistillBERT, a pre-trained transformer model with a classification head on top of it. We then trained this combination model on a data set of 400 augmented solidity contracts, half of which were negative samples and half of which were positive samples. Because we had such a small data set, we did have small chances of overfitting. However, with our 96% validation accuracy, that makes us confident enough in the methodology that we used that it's worth further research. Going on further research, since the hackathon ended, we've developed a 4-step plan for the different technical milestones we want to hit as we continue to develop this project. Version 1 is just version 2 of the MVP. We want to be able to be entirely sure that a model is not overfitting, but is instead actually learning what the re-entry attack is and how to classify smart contracts that are vulnerable to this exploit. Version 2 is expanding on the minimum viable product by introducing more vulnerabilities that it can detect, trying to detect the top 20 or the top 50 vulnerabilities that are not detectable using traditional static code analysis tools. Version 3, generalization. It's all well and good if we're able to detect smart contract vulnerabilities, but if we need to have 500, 1,000, 2,000 data points for us to be able to detect those vulnerabilities, that's not going to be scalable. So what we're going to do in phase 3 is we want to try and get it down to few-shot learning or even one-shot learning if possible, such that if we see 1-2 examples of vulnerability in the wild, we can feed it into our models, and then it's able to detect that vulnerability from then on. Version 4, we remove the need to even feed vulnerability into the model at all. The goal with this is to just be able to feed in a contract, and the model will be able to determine any vulnerabilities that it has, even if these vulnerabilities are not one that the model has been exposed to, even if these vulnerabilities are ones that humanity has not yet figured out.
Yeah, and like when we achieve level 4, like that would be like insane, because our grand vision for this whole protocol, this whole product, is to be able to become a base layer of security for all of crypto. So anybody with any access, like any amount of capital, can be able to access this tool, which is like have superhuman level performance, and we have really fast iteration cycles, and this can be all for all of crypto. So we can become a base security layer for all of crypto. So there's no more exploits in the future, and we need your help. So if you really get grants, if you're like an ML engineer, auditing firms, or startup founders, like we'd love to talk to you. And thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Robert and Dixon. That's a very quick but very precise introduction presentation about your project. One question from me. So basically, there are already some leading players in the crypto space are already doing the auditing stuff, like the Certic, like the QuantStamp, like even PwC are trying to do smart contract auditing. And what do you think? What will be the biggest advantage for you guys if in the future they decide to like use the machine learning stuff to enter this market? Yeah.
You mean the advantage that we would have over these existing companies?
Yeah, compare with those.
I think it's more of a
we don't
symbiosis.
necessarily need an advantage. One thing that we want to be able to do is we want to make sure that this is free to everybody, even at smaller scales. So assuming we're able to lower the prices, assuming we're able to, the goal with this project is not to make a lot of money. It's genuinely the goal with this project is to solve the problem. So if it ends up being the case that someone else solves this problem using different methods, that's still a win in my books. But in general, the way that we're going to beat them is we're going to be the first ones on the scene, and we're going to try and make sure that we're on top of the machine learning models as much as possible.
But in terms of like the machine learning versus the humans, I guess, like for the machine learning, we have the ability to like generalize like amazingly. So like there's AlphaGo and there's like Deep Blue, like all those like all those models were able to beat out humans by like in crazy amounts of engineering effort. So I think like we can totally do it in just like a similar thing where we're trying to like have superhuman level performance, but on auditing.
Gotcha.
But in the end, it will be a more symbiosis between like smart contract auditors, because they'll still exist. Because maybe the technical part, we'll solve that part, but for the sanity checks and for like people still want humans to do it, so we'll be able to like help them speed up their costs, like reduce their costs like crazy, and speed up their iterations, such that more people can access the human auditors.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's pretty clear. And thank you very much for the presentation. Really appreciate your time and efforts. Looking forward to see how it goes in the future. Yeah, and we're gonna move to the next step, next project, which is the Funbug. And Valley, it's your time. You need to unmute yourself. Yeah.
Hello, everybody. I'm Bradley Clark, and I worked on Funbug GM, which is maximizing fun and chaos as a defense against system capture. Simon Denny, the artist of .com Seance, says cannons are built with interest, and rule sets, just like literature, can become canon. .com Seance is relevant here because Funbug is actually .com Seance is a large NFT project that is resurrecting Web 1 companies. Funbug was actually a Web 1 company for play to earn. The idea is still relevant today. But when we look at it now, we kind of see play to earn is a sticky situation. So the closed gaming economies that exist today, whether they're Web 2 or Web 3, already function as authoritarian bureaucracy, right? Like a few years back, I think some streamers got banned from Hearthstone for voicing their support of Hong Kong protests. The game can control everything, right? So and when you think about play to earn, the problem becomes even more complex. As a player's in-game value grows, the platform earns more lock-in. So when we look at all systems, Web 2 systems included, we see that every system tends toward extreme optimization by the platform operators. So, when there is a centralized platform, it will be maximized to whatever extent the people who control that platform desire, with no input from the users whatsoever. So we kind of have this crazy problem with play to earn, where people are investing more of their time and their lives into play to earn authoritarian systems, which is very troubling. But at the same time, we do really need play to earn. Virtual economies, like those created by play to earn, are the backbone of Web3 growth. So kind of the question becomes, how do we maximize economic output while minimizing human digitization or human capture, potentially? So this is why I created Funbugᵍ. 2 reasons. It's a playground to challenge and enable the great creative technologists of our day. And we're also maximizing fun and chaos as a defense against system capture. How it works. So Funbug is basically a universal game state system. And there's a bunch of components in here. There's a registrar that basically receives all requests inbound from a game developed by potentially a Web 2 or traditional gaming team. Funbug has a hard currency, that's Funbugᵍ. There's also support for soft currencies within the game, so developers can get going very quickly. A suite of inventory ops will be available so that you can control anything to do with NFTs, and also a global prize pool for the entire Funbug system. So everything in this architecture is designed to be composable and also easily upgradable. But even more than just these base systems that we were kind of building into our abstract universal game state system, we have there's a very important thing that we are doing, and that is that we're turning over game control logic to individual developers, right? So our systems just manage state. We want scorekeeping, score execution, any kind of other conditional triggers to come from the Funbugᵍ library. So the core contracts that you saw on the last side get call contracts from our library, selected as the game developer or potentially the community decides. So for the example of the hard and the soft currency operations, we can have like a basic reward and punish scheme. We can have a relative reward and punish scheme where we take into account how far ahead the winner is and help everyone else score more, or slow down the person who's in the lead. Or you could do vice versa, help people in the back catch up. This is, you might have seen a really good relative reward system in Mario Kart, right? If you get too far ahead of the pack in Mario Kart, the person in the back's definitely gonna get that blue shell and snipe you. We could create bonding curve. The community could create bonding curve based schemes. We could also have just a pure chaos scheme, just for the sake of injecting volatility into the system or into your game. Some games actually could do well with a lot of additional chaos. We can also get into Glen Wild kind of stuff. So quantitative voting, salsa, other kinds of very complex system designs they're all compatible inside the Funbug system. The way it works, just kind of an example here, calls cascade through the contracts. So there's the Funbug registrar, again, is the router. It receives all the calls from the games. And then it knows which contracts have been selected by the community and therefore which ones should be called to evaluate the scores. So, and then once the contract evaluates the change in score state, it passes that delta onto funbuggm.sol, the core contract of the project, for execution, which actually sends tokens or executes prize pool logic, et cetera, et cetera. So kind of an example of a couple of scorekeeping mechanisms that we came up with. We could have a bounty and a famine, right? So in the bounty scenario, it becomes very easy for players to get ahead. The reward here, as you can see in line 17, is 200 for every reward, and the punishment's only 1. So, you can get ahead, and if you lose, it's not so bad. On the other hand, we could have a famine scenario where the punishment is drastic and it's almost impossible to get ahead with a reward of only 1. And you can see here, we have the interface for the base Funbugᵍ contract. And then this is an extremely basic example, but the core function is receive incent here, right? Because we're receiving the incentive. Who is Funbug for? Funbugᵍ for independent projects that need a play to earn infrastructure. This is actually something that I'm seeing quite a bit right now, thanks to the NFT boom. There are a lot of communities that are being created around very simple ideas with strong IP that needs to be extended. These teams tend to raise, maybe 100, 200 ETH which is a fair amount of money, but not quite enough to build a game studio. So a lot of these smaller NFT projects wind up hiring independent game studios that may or may not be experienced in Web3 techniques at all. So what Funbug is a out-of-the-box infrastructure for these independent teams. There are also some platforms and marketplaces that are booting up right now that need a lot of titles quickly. So Funbug GM can be a scaling solution to ease that gridlock between the supply and demand side of decentral gaming marketplaces, which I am very much hoping that we see more decentral gaming marketplaces later this year. What's next for our project? Throughout the end of this month, we're tightening up some of those core contracts. We're also going to begin commissioning some scorekeeping mechanisms from key community members. And ideally, we'll be sharing Funbug GM with some indie game developers in a couple of weeks at a conference. In April, we will be finishing the NFT inventory ops contracts and continuing to incentivize the community development of contracts. In May, we're going to go really hard and start recruiting some dev squads for Funbug GM operations, both for building out our contract library and also recruiting people to join our ecosystem as game developers. And then in Q3 2022, we have at least one decentral game marketplace that we'll be partnering with, welcoming them into the Funbug GM system. One thing I want to mention with the community, at the very beginning, I said this is part of a sub-project of .com/Seance. This is a project created through an artist community focused primarily in Berlin, but spread out across the world. And I'm hoping to attract some of these artists to come in and write some of the very first core contracts. The creative technologists that we all discussed, that I discussed earlier on as the people that I intended to build the system for. So quick appendix, if you don't quite believe that the situation is so dire as I presented at the very beginning, take a look at this talk on techno-feudalism from Yanis Varoufakis. Sorry for butchering your name, Yanis. And quick thanks. I got a lot of help from the community, and these are some of the folks that helped out. And with that, thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, totally. Thank you very much, Bradley, for this wonderful presentation. So it's more like an infrastructure for some very early stage NFT or game, Web3 game studios. It's more like incubation, but more on technical sides. I definitely like the idea, and I actually have never seen something. Some teams are building the similar things like you are trying to build right now, actually. So, well, personally, I'm not a very technical guy, but I have a question for you about the play to earn model, because we could see that the play to earn model is very fascinating, and it has achieved a lot of success so far, but it also have its own problems. So when players focus more on the earn part, they ignore the game part. So it's not seems like a very sustainable model. So what do you think about it?
Yeah, it does come down to the individual developers who intend to use the system at the end of the day. But you know, if we kind of think about how truly healthy like mobile games work, you know, they're generally subsidized by the top 1% or less of users on the platform. So, you know, as long as the game designers are designing good games that encourage traction and some amount of stickiness, then ideally the distribution curve winds up that it does attract the whales. Another thing that we will be able to do with the Funbug GM system is monetize games, allow these developers to monetize their games with the currency, so that it's it's not just play to earn, but also you can pay to continue playing, much like a classic arcade where you drop a quarter in.
Gotcha. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. Thank you very much, Bradley. That's all my questions. Appreciate your time and effort so far. As always, really looking forward to see how you guys go in the future. Yeah. And we're gonna move to the next presenter, which is Aslan from Mimicry Protocol. Yeah. Feel free to start when you're ready. Don't forget to unmute yourself.
Thank you. My name is Aslan. I'm with Mimicry Protocol. You can find me on Twitter at Aslan Goldenhour and Mimicry Protocol at at Mimicry Protocol. So let me share my screen here. Great. Window, boom, boom. Excellent. So Mimicry is a derivatives marketplace for NFT collections. And, it's great to hear, from the other presenters. I definitely am a big believer that by the end of the decade, the most common job title worldwide will be part-time professional gamer. And, it feels very early for NFTs, and feels very much like first or second inning. Fashion brands are going to come over, music, housing, many others. And so we're just getting started. And one of the big problems with an immature market is that there's a massive lack of exit liquidity. And what's happening is that a lot of people are buying NFTs, and they're probably going to, many of them are going to go down in value significantly. 60% of people who are interested in buying NFT, or who are buying NFTs, believe the price will be higher in the future. So it's pure speculation. And it reminds me a lot of what happened in 2017 when people were having the ICO buzz and huge collections of altcoins, and then as the market sort of matured, many portfolios lost a tremendous amount of value. I know that happened to me personally in a big way. So that's kind of where we're at. And so we came up with a solution, which is creating a ERC 721 that acts as a collateralized debt position, and it's pegged to the price, to the floor price and recent transaction price. I'll go into that, of an actual NFT collection. And so it's a new kind of derivative primitive for NFTs. So think of it as a rolling perpetual future for non-fungibles. And I'll talk a little bit about how it works. So at its basic sense, you'd come to Mimicry and you would select the NFT collection that you're interested in going long or short on. And you would deposit some ERC20 collateral, and then we would mint you an ERC 721 that would represent your position. And at some point in the future, you burn that position and you can receive your collateral plus or minus any profits. And so I'll walk through kind of this data diagram. So again, first thing that you do is deposit your tokens, select your position, long or short, on whatever NFT collection you're interested in. And again, like with the way the market is today there's no way to short NFT collections. There's very poor, like I said, exit liquidity. There's and so often, even from a liquidation perspective, there's huge challenges there. So you deposit this collateral. The next step would be we have a specific algorithm that we've been working on that's like a collection risk algorithm. And it allows us to determine what collections should we include. And the reason for this is because the highest risk in this system is price manipulation. But the way that we'll prevent that is with these two specific algorithms that we're putting through a price oracle, or through an oracle. The first one around collection risk basically says, hey, this collection is, it's OpenSea verified. It has a certain number of a ratio of holders relative to NFTs, or it has certain volume. And so it's safe enough that we think it's low probability of fraud. And so that is something that's detected at the point of minting your collection, or your position. Then when you actually mint your position, what we do is, I'll illustrate this. We give you an NFT that is based on the Uniswap V3 LP pool tokens. So this is just an illustration, but basically what would happen is, if you went long or short on Mutant Ape Yacht Club as an example, our software goes and fetches one of the random mutant apes from the collection. It would vectorize it, turn it into an SVG, a scalable vector graphic, that gets rendered using on-chain data, so that all that you need to know as a retail trader to know your position is you just look at your NFT in your wallet. And it would tell you things like the amount of collateral that you have in, your profit percentage, your profit margin, the contract information, and have this kind of visual representing that position. And then when you want to, so I'll go back to the the illustration here. This was super fun, and there was definitely a big shout out to you know, just some incredible work around the B3 protocol token and that kind of existing code base, but had fun playing with that. And so after you mint the NFT, you're kind of sitting on it, and then sometime in the future, one thing that's also cool that came out of Denver was we got this idea to, while you have your collateral sitting in your smart contract, we can put it to work yield farming. So you deposit your collateral, you make your bet and play the game, and then while it's in the smart contract, we'll be farming that collateral. And then when you want to exit your position and burn your NFT, we have a collection appraisal algorithm that basically looks at things like the recent transaction history, a subset of floor prices. We're also going to be incorporating some third-party data related to NFT, individual NFT appraisal. So we're looking at like Upshot for that, and some others, and because we want to create a sophisticated sort of peg, if you will, for what a collection is. And so what's really interesting about this game is it's a relative trading game. And so of course the last piece is once you burn this NFT, you get your collateral returned. But it's a relative trading game. So if I'm long on Bored Ape Yacht Club and someone else is long on CryptoPunks, just as a simple example, well, if both of these might increase in value relative to USD, but if my Bored Apes increase in value more, and both of us put in $100, today, and a week later, they both go up relative to USD, but Bored Apes are worth more than CryptoPunks, then when I burn my mimicked ape, my 721, I get my collateral plus some profit, and I take some of that profit by liquidating this other person's position or part of their position. And so that's kind of the money flow. And one of the things that I wanted to highlight was, since ETHDenver, we've continued forward with this. I've brought on a UX lead. We've had over 2,000 people join our wait list at Mimicry.finance, and we also closed seed round of funding and are continuing forward to build, and we'll be hiring a couple of engineers. And so if you want to join our waitlist, please visit Mimicry.finance, and you can scan this QR code to join our Discord, which we would also love. And we'll be publishing weekly updates on our progress as we build on both Discord and Twitter, and Telegram as well. Mimicry Protocol on Telegram. So
Yeah, totally. I mean, definitely I would be one of the waiting lists for your project. Yeah. Actually, I was actually thinking about if a project could build a product that help the blue chips NFT holders to hedge their risk, like when the market is going down, and if they just hold their NFT and the property basically is decreasing in value. But when it has a product to hedge it, it will be much better. And well, not exactly what you guys trying to build, but some similar ideas. And I definitely like it.
That's a huge feature request. So like we've talked to a lot of people who have been very excited about the ability to short NFTs to hedge their long positions. So we've we've had a number of DAOs expressed interests, a bunch of like NFT, people like I self-identify this way, like an NFT degens, and also some trading firms as well who are interested in using our SDKs once they're available to hedge positions.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean,
thanks.
Very exciting about it. Yeah. Thank you very much, Aslan, for building such a great product, and really looking forward to see how it works in the future. Yeah.
Thank
you very much. Yep. Bye. And right now we're gonna move to the last project today, which is the DustSweeper. and David and Roy. Yeah, your time.
Hey guys, so we made DustSweeper, which is a dApp that allows people with small amounts of ERC20s to come together with a decentralized network of flashbot searchers to get paid for their low amounts of ERC20s. So you can imagine anyone from a longtime user of Ethereum to someone who just started with Ethereum but got airdropped some tokens. You can imagine that they have a small amount of tokens sitting in their wallet and it's not feasible for them to trade them on a DEX due to the DEX price or the fees on the DEX. So we made DustSweeper that allows what we call makers to approve small amounts of ERC20s to then allow a decentralized network of flashbots to call the smart contract and to pay out the makers for the ERC20s. So here I have our website, dustsweeper.xyz, and I'm going to go ahead and walk through the app. First, I'll select the SPAY token to approve to this smart contract. So once I've approved that ERC20 smart contract to give it the allowance to use our smart contract for the flashbots, I'll hit confirm, and then through a consumable API, these flashbot searchers are able to look at ongoing orders, kind of in our queue, and then to take up these orders if their strategy will be profitable once they calculate the costs of taking these ERC20s. So right now I'll turn it over to Rory to answer any questions that you may have about our project.
Yeah, it's a pretty simple project, and we do basically connecting people with small ERC20 balances. That it's cheaper to approve that balance. It's more convenient to use our UI and just click a button and have that be approved. And our contract, we've built a contract that allows the taker to get a little bit of a discount on that ERC20 token, and that taker will then transfer the ETH from that that is equivalent to that discount to those to what we're calling makers. And we're actually live on mainnet right now, and we have some. We're doing an alpha phase right now to make sure that our contract is working as expected, and we are working really hard on supporting more tokens. That's our big goal right now. But yeah, it's really a simple process, and we built it to make it to where there's convenient to just kind of sweep up the dust of these ERC20 tokens that we all seem to have these kind of small amounts of in our wallets. And we're kind of connecting people with bots who are sweeping these up. And from what we've experienced so far on our in our brief time of being live, these taker bots are doing the process. They're sweeping the dust, and then they're converting these. They're aggregating these tokens together and making these trades to Uniswap or SushiSwap, all in the same transaction, and making it so we're aggregating these. So it's quite a bit more cost effective. So the makers do get the takers do get a little bit of a discount, which incentivizes them to actually make these trades. And the makers, or the users, us that have this dust in our wallet that we've probably forgotten about or written off, are able to get some ETH in exchange. And it's really convenient, and it's just a simple project. It's a simple product, but we really feel like it fills a market need, that it has real world usage. And so far we've had a great reaction, and people are really happy with how the process works, and we've had several taker bots that have come online, and through the Flash bots, and we have had a lot of sweeps already, and it's kind of exceeded our expectations. We're trying to go slow to make sure that we are getting everything done and sealed up properly, and so far so good. It feels like a short time since ETHDenver, but we've had a great reaction since, and we are continuing to build this product out, and we really hope by early April that we will have a working version that supports a lot more tokens. And we already have the taker bots in place, and a lot of these dust allocations are getting swept up quite quickly. So the people are getting the ETH in exchange for their dust tokens that they've kind of written off, and these taker bots are able to make these transactions and aggregate these tokens together to make it profitable for them as well. And yeah, if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, even though, like you said, it's a very more vision to cutting, but I really like the idea. And like you said, there are really needs for this type of the product. And you guys are kind of the first one to build on it. So definitely, I think that's a very smart move. And you guys already achieved a very successful progress so far. If you guys, for audience, if you guys don't know, they plan to raise 50 ETH and finally raised 150 ETH. And just want to say congrats on the achievements. Yeah, and and definitely looking forward to see what you guys trying to do, because I don't actually have more questions about it, and you guys have clearly a roadmap in the future. So and a very simple to understand business model. So yeah, I really like it, and hope to see how you guys going to expand in the future, and definitely want to catch up with you guys. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, DoraHacks. Thank you, Chris.
For sure. Yeah, and I guess that would be it for today. Really appreciate 4 wonderful teams emerged from the ETHDenver hackathon and give such a wonderful presentation today. Also, really thank for all the audience to participate to this session, and I believe the whole session could be super helpful to understand like what the winning team are trying to building right now. Yeah, and if you guys haven't followed us on YouTube and BUIDL, make sure you do that so you won't miss out any of the upcoming workshop or project demo session like today's. And hope you guys all doing great and happy building in the future. And thanks for joining us again. And hope you guys have a good one tonight.